Do you think Biden will give a pardon to Hunter before he gets out?
Definitely.
Even though he said he wouldn't, but I'm sure he
Definitely.
forgot he
It'll be
said that.
mid-November before.
Definitely.
But can he? If he is not of sound mind,
Definitely.
can he?
No, definitely.
Can he?
Definitely.
That's why
I'm
they
waiting
don't
for the
want
Hunter
to.
Biden pardon. They're working on it right now. The ink's drying on it.
Sadly.
Hi, everybody. This is John back from Real Veteran News, back with this 4-veteran panel of news analysis discussion we've got going on. This is our second week where we have 4 people, and I would like to get them to introduce themselves, and I'll explain the topics. So who wants to go first?
Hi, I'm Ted, 30-year Army veteran. About half of that was spent Rangers, airborne units. Got out contracted for a while, so a little bit of a unique perspective on the world because I spent 15 years living outside the U.S.
Cool. Where were you living?
Europe and Dubai, United Arab Emirates. And then I worked in that region for a while. Back in the States, retired.
Great.
My name is Matt Tipton. I was in 375 for 5 years. Got out, went to paramedic school, then to medical school, and now I'm up in West Tennessee.
Great. Thanks for coming in, Matt. Marie, who I've known the longest, good old friend Marie, worked together at the State Department. How would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Marie Ballerini-Hunyon. I know it's hard to pronounce when you look at it. Let's see, Army veteran. I have 18 days remaining on my contract, technically, but I've been in the IRR for the last 4 years because I lived overseas in Kuwait for 3 years working at an embassy. I was told to resign or be fired. So I resigned, told him to pound sand. We returned back to the States. I also live in mid-Tennessee and I love it. I am home and retired and I am all about cats now. So you get a crazy conspiracy theorist who pets cats all day long and many paws.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for coming back, Marie. And I finished your wedding video.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's awesome. Thank you.
Did my best. Sorry it took so long. All right, so let's get started with the news. 4 topics are Trump shooting follow-up. We know more now. The global tech outage thing, the RNC, which was last week, and Biden quitting basically, or probably quitting. He might quit today. Who knows? So anyways, so that's the 4 topics. So we'll start with the Trump thing. I'll start off real quick because I talked to a lot of people this week. So some people are really emotional in my opinion. So some people are mad that Trump, bled his own blood or whatever. But and they're kind of getting emotional on that side of thing. Other people on the other side are like, oh my God, I wish they killed him, blah, 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 blah. I think if you're getting super emotional about it, that you're kind of maybe a little bit too invested in this politician or whatever. There's a system at work here. And if that person is gone, it'll just be filled by another person from the faction. It might hurt them temporarily, whatever, but it doesn't fundamentally change what's going on. If it sparks some kind of civil war or something, yeah, I get it. But we got to figure out a way to do this where it's not so emotional, personally, in my opinion. So aside from that, there's a bunch of tactical details and all types of stuff that's come out since we talked last week about this. I'm not going to go through all that right now. I'll let you guys go first, and then I'll kind of track what we've talked about or whatever. But let's just generally discuss it. Starting with we can talk about Secret Service, talk about the roof, all the angles, all that shit. So who wants to go first?
I'll talk. So last week, my hot take after 24 hours was that this was probably just incompetence of local law enforcement of not covering that roof for whatever reason, either they designated security in the wrong spot or whatever. It's looking more and more like that didn't happen. The local guys are saying they did not have the tasking for that roof. But there's so many crazy details have come out that any one of them should have this guy taken into custody, detained. And several of the points in the hour leading up to that, the guys that were directly on the detail next to Donald Trump should have said, get him off the stage. There's something going on. But I think we'll know more in the next month, and we'll definitely know more if Trump gets elected when he declassifies all this stuff. I was joking on Facebook the other day that first thing Trump should do is declassify all the Kennedy assassination stuff from the 60s, just so the American people can know what happened. If it's purely incompetence, it was so many natural ones rolled on the D20 in a row. I can't imagine how it's possible, but I'm concerned more and more that somebody was intending for this happening and allowing it to be happening. We don't have proof of that yet, but that's my vibe of what it's looking towards. And as far as getting emotional, I wouldn't have been emotional about Trump himself being killed, although it's sad for a man to lose his life. I'm emotional about what's happened to our country to where this level of political violence is possible again, because, I was hopeful that would never come back after, what happened to Kennedy. You don't want that for your republic. So that's my opinion today.
I mean, looking at it, and I read today, I've read throughout the week. I watched it. I was actually at a friend's house, and he had the rally on live. And when it happened...
Hey, we got breaking news, gentlemen. President Biden abandoned his campaign under pressure from Democrats. It was just released 4 minutes ago.
Cool. Well, that was totally unexpected.
Sorry.
I wonder if he's even still alive.
Been waiting.
I mean, he hasn't been seen for a while.
But I got your immediate reaction.
To quote Tombstone, well, bye.
Yeah. Well, now the craziness starts anew, and that's who will replace him. I don't want to jump down 3 lines or 4 lines to that conversation. I'll save it. But
in later
it's
days.
just one bit of madness that's come to an end, and a new bit of madness that's going to start up. But back to the watching the reaction. Go ahead, John.
We obviously this is happening while that's the 4th topic. We'll hit it, but let's just do it at the end there. Let's finish knocking the Secret Service and everything.
He was getting there.
Yeah.
He was just wrapping up and going back there. Yeah. Thank you, and sorry for the intrusion, but
that's okay.
No worries.
Go ahead, Ted.
It'll be one of those milestones. We'll remember exactly where we were at when we were doing this. No, just looking at the detail, and it was kind of hard to tell who was actual Secret Service, who was state police, who was local police. They were all represented. But I almost, my opinion of it was they were complacent. There was a lot of complacency going on there. I mean, there were tactically uniformed officers in the background that had night vision goggles on their helmet. I mean, come on, it was the afternoon. They were running around with their chin straps unbuckled, which sounds like a petty, he's senior NCO, he's going to pick that out. But when you're ready to go, you got your game face on and your go gear on, you do that. Not being able to holster a pistol.
You don't play John Wayne.
A lot of security analysts and security experts said, he was on the stage for over a minute after the shooting before they could even get him going. They all said he would have been in the car gone had a good detail been on the job. So my question is, what do their fitness reports look like, and why were they on that detail? Were they the last kids picked for the team because it was Trump, or were they the best foot forward? When he walked in and at the Republican National Convention, he had 6'2" buff on their game security detail. They did look like the Barnyard League for the frickin' DC police, the Capitol Police. They look like guys that knew what they were doing.
And of course, everybody now trained on that right ear and the bandage over his ear. It's gone viral, actually, the bandage. We've actually seen some images today of his supporters putting bandages on their ears in solidarity with Donald Trump.
Whereas the detail in Pennsylvania, I give them a 50-50. Again, from an eye that looks at little details like can't get your pistol back in the holster.
We love you! We love you, Trump! Yeah!
All very good points. Marie, you want to give your take?
Sure. We could break it down piece by piece and go all the way down to the week before leading up to it when that they had to cordon off the area and no one should be allowed beyond a specific perimeter of where this is going to be taking place. I mean, that's number one. Where was the security during that entire week after the first check? How many checks were there? We could break it down into infinite things. A slope on a roof, but the slope behind, obviously, where our actual sniper was that took out the bad guy, or at least one of them, he was on more of a slope. The grade was much greater. This is inexcusable. It's absolutely diabolical. They had the B team, from what I was told. B team being not the A team. We all know what those are, right? A team was taken off and put with Jill because she was doing another event in Pennsylvania at the time. This is from people who are in this daily. So they got a conglomerate of B team. People pulled that weren't working together, hadn't worked together. The communication between all of them was piss poor. Sorry, I'm trying not to say bad words. I mean, their communications between the local and then the sheriffs and then the state and then the Secret Service. Where was that? I was signal. I'm sorry, communication, people. I don't understand why you have somebody of Donald John Trump, former president. It's really hard to say that. I usually say president, but it's really hard to know that this man has more than 50% chance of winning. And that he and RFK alike were not provided Secret Service agents, protection, security details, because the possibility, we know that the left is diabolical. These are the things that they do. We have history. And if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. So yes, I 100% agree. Release the classified, make it unclass. We need to know what happened with JFK. The world needs to know. Because we do. I mean, we are in those circles, but we could break it down so many different ways to Sunday. And we all know that it was the very top, that she would even throw out the slope being an issue. No, they have complete control of the entire perimeter and everybody under it, because this is at federal level. This is under the Department of Homeland Security. That's what Secret Service agencies fall under. It falls under. Mayorkas and Cheadle are the two people that Congress should have under lock and key right now, so they don't talk to anyone in the outside world, and no other discussions could be handled, because if it were you or me, that's what would be happening. They'd be like, I want to know what you know before anyone else knows it, so that you can put those pieces together. But, obviously our investigative and security agencies who represent us fail to do the most simple things, because sometimes you have to put people under lock and key in order to stop the spread of misinformation. And then, and I'm not saying treat them like the J6ers in a cell that have been locked in there just because they violated, walking into the people's building, the people's house, right? But okay, next question. Sorry, let's go.
Can I respond to Ted?
Yeah, go ahead.
Trump was to take the stage at 6. I think the shooting was at 6:11. Nightfall was 8:30. It was beat into me as a young private because I got in right after Somalia. That doesn't matter if it's a daytime or nighttime mission. You have your nods on you. So I don't know if they came out of that ethos or if that was their standard operating procedure or if they were just trying to get cool guy points. But I would rather have my nods and not need them than need them and not have them.
He was saying that they're on their helmet. Like you just have them in a pouch.
No, I agree with that, but then I would ask the question, why didn't they all have them on? If you're going to wear them, it should be a standard operating procedure. There were a lot of other little details.
Everyone looks the same.
Go ahead.
Everyone looks the same.
I don't really care about, I agree with that, but I don't really care as much about that. I was never a big fan of the whole, have all your equipment set up so everybody looks alike. I was always make sure everybody knows where your med pouch is, sure your ammunition's loaded the same way, that kind of stuff. My point is, when I was looking at them, they just did not look prepared for a situation. Having gotten a little taste of what goes on there with clearing, to Marie's point about the whole place should have been locked down. And I did it with EOD. EOD has to sweep that area, and then it is locked down for X amount of time. Because once the EOD sweep is done, you have to have eyes on it. So someone doesn't come in after the sweep. How the hell did he get a rifle in there and a ladder and all these other things if they had it locked down?
And they knew about him 30 minutes before.
It wasn't like he was John Lee Swigert and made a 2,000-meter shot. He made a 100-meter shot. which they're using yards now to make it and feet to make it sound like it was a huge distance. I mean, I heard somebody talking in feet. They're like, it was over a 500-foot shot. Like, yeah, I only know like 7 or 8.
It was a 10,000-inch shot.
I only know like 700 or 800 guys in the 2nd Ranger Battalion that could have made that shot. So, yeah, 500 feet. Wow. I zeroed my rifle at 100 meters. There's just kind of a lot of things in there. And as I was doing the research this morning for this topic, I was kind of getting madder and madder because one of the things that's come up was, you know, we're understaffed, we're underfunded, we're under, you know, their budget is $3.1 billion as compared to $13 billion for U.S. SOCOM. So let that sink in. They've essentially got almost a quarter of the budget of U.S. SOCOM, not JSOC, not USASOC, but U.S. SOCOM. That's compared to, I think, 60,000 plus. There's only about 3,000 employees at Secret Service. Not all of them are field agents, not all of them are operatives, all that kind of stuff. But to immediately start making excuses, you know, somebody should have just stood up and said, hey, I'm the PL. We failed the mission. I'm a no-go. Maybe I'll recycle and try it again next time.
Right.
But when you read about her Cheadle's associations with people, it's like, yeah, she ain't going to get fired. Things may change now that we've just heard the news. I don't think there's much taking of responsibility here. It seems to be a lot of finger pointing and trying to get out of responsibility.
Well, another thing is they knew about this guy, that there was a suspicious guy for 30 minutes, 26 minutes, I think is what it was. So during that 26-minute period, why was DJT on that stage? Why?
Complacency.
Why?
Complacency.
He should have been removed immediately if there was a threat. I'm sorry. Do I need to turn my mic down a little?
Oh, of course. Well, you're good. All right, let me.
I mean, come on.
I appreciate it all. Let me have a little bit of analysis here. So I'm looking at different parts of this with regard to the critical mistakes that led to it happening. There's 3 points, right? Marie just talked about one of them. The first one, the key is like this rangefinder, where he showed up with the rangefinder, which is super suspicious, and it wasn't against the rules, so they basically let him go. He could have been nabbed right there, just detain him to the end of the thing, you know, do a little whatever, you know what I'm saying? But that wasn't done. They let him melt into the crowd. But really, that is what prevented him from being able to like perform his action, was the fact he compromised himself with the rangefinder thing. And then he wasn't dressed like a Trump, and he wasn't acting Trump. Like, he wasn't acting all happy, you know, he was acting like a psycho, you know what I mean? And everyone noticed him. So the rangefinder thing, letting him back in the crowd, that's the first kind of mistake. The second is the building, which apparently the site security plan included the building. I mean, obviously, like, how could it not, right? It was done a week before, which is a little rushed, but I mean, it's pretty easy, right? So the fact that it was not surrounded by police so that someone couldn't access the roof is obviously a problem. And then also there were 3 snipers inside the building and nobody went on, none of them were on the roof. If one of them had been on the roof, he could not have access to the roof because the sniper would have turned around and shot at him or whatever. So he couldn't have done it. So those 2 things would have prevented him, but neither one of those happened. And then the last one is that the Secret Service snipers who were on behind Trump saw this dude on the roof 20 minutes before he shot, and they were confused because they knew the cops were like in that building, so they couldn't figure out if one of the cops came up on the roof, and they were obviously scared to take the guy out. Like, for 20 minutes, they could have blasted this dude, you know what I mean? And they didn't. And like Marie said, Trump was brought out. You know, that's the crux of it. Like, the protective detail, they're saying most of these people that looked bad were not actual Secret Service. And like, I get that. It's kind of a scandal that they're using non-Secret Service to protect Trump during this time. That's kind of why they weren't very good. It's like, whatever. I think it's unfair to blame the local cops. I think they did the best they could. I think pretty much everyone did the best they could. Leadership failure, big leadership failures, as you talked about. What do you guys think?
So, John, is it your position that this is all oversight, lack of planning, and no teamwork because they hadn't worked together? Or do you think there's a possibility that there was an intentional hole left open maliciously to take Trump out?
I think it's always incompetence with the government. I mean, it's almost 99% of the time. It's either incompetence or greed or self-interest or something.
There should be no incompetence when it comes to the safety and security of President Trump or even President Biden.
Yeah,
I like people, but I mean, you know, for America, for you know, it's disgusting that it's but it's right out there in the open.
That is the first sentence of their mission statement is to protect the lives of America's leadership, high-value individuals. I'm paraphrasing. That's not exactly what it says, but I did go in and read the Secret Service mission statement just so I understood exactly what they were supposed to be doing. And I don't think it was complete incompetence. I think it probably fell more on some complacency also, in that it's not going to happen on my shift. You know, he does these things all the time and nothing's ever happened. And then, you know, damn, it did.
Yeah, it's like a drunk driver that's like gets away with it. It's like when they get caught, they got away with it. I mean, like they've done these shitty security rallies like over and over and over and over again. It's just intersected with this crazy incel kid, and he went for it. You know, I mean, I personally think that if there had been more security there, that the kid would have just went home. He told his boss he was going to be at work the next day. You know what I mean? He hadn't like left anything for his family or anything. I mean, this was just like a target of opportunity where this kid was like, shit, I can get one off here. And he almost got him basically.
The B team.
They got 9 rounds
from
off
what I
before
was told.
they got
B
him.
team B.
To be fair, I can think of about 6 major lapses in Joe Biden's safety that have occurred during his presidency. They put him on a bicycle at least once, and I've seen him let him go up and down stairs. So.
And walk across the stage
Yep,
in front of our Navy.
You're going to keep killing the guy? You just fucking dropped out. Are we still killing Joe Biden? Thank you, Joe. Thank you for fucking dropping out. Like, let's not kill him anymore, all right, guys? Like, you did the right thing.
I kind of wanted him to drag it out a little bit
Their
longer.
communication.
You don't want to kill off your best guy in midway through the season. We've still got several episodes to go before November.
Yeah. All right, so whistleblowers, Josh Hawley, senator from Missouri, is getting whistleblowers from the Secret Service. They're saying most on the detail were not Secret Service, that they were from HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, which I've never heard of before this. They lacked resources. Additional resources were denied. And that it was the whistleblowers are saying loose security event with no canine, uncleared people backstage, and not enough security around the podium to really fully protect the president. Like if people had like rushed the podium, like a whole group of people or something, like they could have gotten to Trump like and stabbed him, like well, they wouldn't have had knives and shit, but they could have like gotten Trump.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
they could have, because at this event you were told everyone who was going received message that you cannot bring bags in. Security was so lax at the front gate, people were bringing in backpacks and bags, and people were shocked. Yeah, they were like, what is this? I thought we couldn't bring anything. And they were like, oh, yeah, they were letting people through. It was, yeah. It's there's so much information out there. You know, like I said, the 20 minutes preceding, he shouldn't even have been on the stage. You know, just we're going to postpone for a few minutes while we check something out, and we'll be right back with you, you know. And then they don't have to say what it is. You know, go take care of, go communicate. That's what it was. It's just, it's not just incompetence. I think there was an intentional open door left, because it wasn't just this viewpoint. There was also the water tower. There's video and you can see something moving up there. There was also a Butler school that was 450 yards away from, that had a window with a clear line of sight. You can look at it in a map if you want to, you know, here's
that
your
water
tag
tower.
post it.
That water tower you would have been a professional to shoot somebody from that water tower.
What was the distance on it?
It's like 500 meters at a high angle.
So was the Butler school, the Butler's girls' school, or Butler's something school. Go look at it on a map. And if you can do a Google view, I haven't looked at it, drop your little man. And there's supposedly a window on the upper quadrant, right quadrant, left quadrant of that building that would have been a perfect line of sight. So there's just so many things. I know we're all investigators and keyboard warriors, but it's the training that we've all had. You know, we just know that there was something really nefarious that had to have been, because we know, you know, just with 5 years, with 30 years, with 14 years, John, you got what, 12 years? You know, it's that many years combined. Would any of us let any of this happen?
No.
Everyone looks the same.
If I was out there, there was no way. If I was out there, there's no way there wouldn't be someone on that roof. I'd be like, why the fuck's there no one on the fucking roof? Like,
exactly. But if we know this. It's not just our training. It's our conscience, you know? And there's just no reason that this should have happened in any way, shape, or form. And I think it's diabolical.
Prepared for a situation, having gotten a little taste of what goes on there with clearing, to Marie's point about the whole place should have been locked.
He won the primary, and then he was kind of in it for real. I think he won purely because Hillary Clinton was so disliked. My mom is very conservative, but she's always said she just doesn't like some of the nasty things Trump said. And if you look at him for the past year, he's really toned that down a lot and become a lot more presidential. And I would say he's one order of magnitude more presidential just since the shooting. And I think if he hangs out in this mode, there's nothing that can stop him.
Fight, fight, fight.
I think his speech was great. Obviously, there's, 107 more days now? How long till the election? A lot can happen, but the current tempo and his current demeanor, I love it.
Agreed.
Murray?
Absolutely agreed. I would have said the exact same thing. You know, his demeanor. My biggest thing was it was kind of, his tweets were embarrassing. They weren't mean. You know, it was just he's the reality check. You know, as time went on, he started getting a little more tame. Most definitely, since this last week, he has really toned it down. It's not rhetoric. He's just really toned it down. He's got a new perspective on life, and I think he may have seen Jesus in a flash before his eyes. He believes, he has faith, and you know that I was a Catholic, so. You know, I could side with Biden because he's a Catholic. He is not. Yeah, you're going to see an absolutely presidential Donald J. Trump.
All right, guys. So, yeah, we talked about Trump's speech at the RNC. The other big story, and I think maybe even a little bit bigger one, is this whole introduction of J.D. Vance as his vice president guy. I read the articles that I put in there about him, and I learned a lot more about him that I knew before. I'd like to go through the key parts of his life to how he got here. And then kind of you guys can say what you think about it and we can start talking about it. But the way I see it is he is a veteran. He's a GWAT veteran. So he's the first GWAT veteran to be on president or vice president, anything like that. That'll be more in the future as we get older. So he's not 40, he's like 38, I believe. He joined after 9/11 the Marines, and he went to Iraq as a public affairs corporal. And he would go around to units and profile their daily life, stuff like that. I could not tell if he was out on missions or anything, but he did tell his story about making an Iraqi child smile, which makes me think that he's a pussy. Because no one gives a fuck about Iraqi children. Like, come on, it's the Iraq War. Like, seriously.
He was in the airline, actually.
Yeah, like, who gives a fuck about Iraqi children? Like, that's like your big memory from the war. Like, seriously? Sorry. So, whatever. But he gets out. He basically goes back to Ohio State University, and I think he graduates there or something. He starts Yale Law School in 2010. And him getting into Yale Law School, he must have done well in the LSATs. Everybody says he's a smart guy. Getting into this elite law school. While he was at this law school, he met Peter Thiel, who's PayPal Mafia billionaire, Palantir founder, all this, whatever, who's a Republican, also supports Trump most of the time. Met him, went up to him at a speech that Peter Thiel was giving, basically jerked him off, was like, you're so cool, whatever. Peter Thiel took him under his wing and turned him into like a protege, right? So he goes to Yale Law School, and then he starts working for Peter Thiel in 2015. This is his venture capital experience. It's not like he cut his teeth doing venture capital or whatever. He basically like an underling of Peter Thiel, who's a billionaire. So I don't think that he's like a serious venture capitalist, in my opinion, personally. And then the next year he leaves. He only works there for 1 year in Silicon Valley. Then he goes to found a nonprofit in Ohio, making kids and the hillbilly stuff better or whatever. He writes his famous book in 2016, which I hear the book's supposedly good, memoir called Hillbilly Elegy. And Peter Thiel is funding his nonprofit, funding all this stuff. He's basically like, they were like Sugar Brothers, you know what I'm saying? Or whatever. Yeah, and then he runs for the Senate. Peter Thiel gives him $10 million. He runs for the Senate in 2022. Even in Hillbilly Elegy, he says, I've never done anything in my life. Like, he's like, I've never done anything. He said it himself. Then he founded a venture capital firm funded by Peter Thiel, probably. Senate campaign by Peter Thiel. He didn't vote for Trump in 2016. He voted for Evan McMullin. Also makes you a pussy, in my opinion, too. And then he voted for Trump in 2020. He says, I regret being wrong. He is the best president of our lifetime. In April 2022, Trump says, JD is kissing my ass. Donald Trump Jr. Donald Trump Jr. loves JD Vance, and JD Vance loves Donald Trump Jr. So he had that inside track of being bros with Donald Trump Jr. Tucker Carlson likes him a lot. And 2022, he beats Tim Ryan. What do you guys think?
I would say anybody that's been a Marine, gone to law school at Yale, and then become a senator has done something.
He said he hasn't done anything.
But he's being modest, and self-deprecation is a good quality some of the time. But
He's Peter Thiel's sugar baby.
would you like to have a billionaire that helps open doors for you? I would. I mean, it makes things easier. But
I mean, realistically.
Yeah, I read the story. I watched the movie. I guess my issue is I'm not going to knock him because, he didn't also get a gold medal in 2 separate events at the Olympics. So many people haven't done anything. And he joined the military. He served. He went to college. He made good grades. And he got into Ivy League law school. That's something.
Yeah, he got into Yale Law. It's a very good school where he met Peter Thiel and became his sugar baby.
Yeah, I don't know what the median LSAT to get into Yale is, but I'm going to say it's, top 5% probably. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's high.
As far as talking trash about Trump and Trump talking trash about him, the first 2 weeks of medical school, my best friend and I hated each other, and now we're best friends, and I named my son after him. So it's easy to not like somebody at first, and then after you see them perform as a president for 4 years, be like, hey, I think this guy is a good president. When you're running against somebody, you kind of have to trash talk a little bit. That's the way politics is in the past 20 years.
He wasn't running against Trump in 2016. He voted for Evan McMullen.
But he was in politics at the time.
JD Vance? I don't think he was. Who's next? Who do you guys think about JD Vance?
I'm not crazy about him. His wife did a clerkship at the Supreme Court. I forgot to look it up to find out if she was still there or if she was there when information was released to the public that shouldn't have been, that they said they didn't know who it was. I'm just, conspiracy theorying. I'm just curious. Seriously, I think it's a good question. I think he was one of the first people that even called Trump Hitler or referred to him as back in 2016 when he said that he ended up voting for Evan McMullen, whoever that guy was.
Exactly.
Which is very interesting coming from a corporal who wrote a best-selling book and is disgruntled about the war. I'm just saying.
Right? It just seems like dude's a plant. It seems like he's a plant to me. That's what it seems like. It's like, you don't know what you did to get there. I get that you served your country. I like the humbleness of that, but at the same time, it's like.
Can we agree he did more to become a vice presidential candidate than Kamala Harris?
Absolutely. He was let down by the last one because the last one didn't know what his duty or responsibility was, as he claims. I heard it from his own mouth, but we'll see. I pray for him.
For these reasons, I think he is a good strategic choice. Kamala, she was a tactical choice. They needed to win that battle. Now they're regretting it at the strategic level. They're regretting many things because they're eating what they did in 2020. If everything goes well, JD will probably be the next president. Trump's not going to run again. If he does well, the Republicans may have the White House for the next 12 years. When folks were saying, well, why didn't he pick this guy? Why didn't he pick this guy? It's like, because that guy's in line to be the next governor of North Carolina. That guy's in line to be a threat to the current governor of Michigan. That guy, I'm not sure everybody in North Carolina would vote for him based on his religious choices. He's 39 years old. I think he turns 40 here in a month or so. He can be around for the next 20 years and be a leader of the GOP if Trump gets in the White House and if all goes well over the next 4 years. So I'm looking at him as he might not be the absolute best guy now, but in 4 years, he may well be. And it's a good strategic choice. And there's not a whole lot they can say about the guy. He's a veteran. He's self-made, single parent.
Self-made, though. Is he self-made? I mean, he got himself into Yale Law School, but I mean, Peter Thiel's given him millions of dollars. Just handing him money, basically.
Once you get into Yale, you meet smart, famous, rich people. That's the whole point of going to Yale versus a regular law school. It's the contacts you make. It's what we do.
Yeah, we want to be successful and be at the top or, the higher levels, the higher tiers so that we can hang out with those kind of people because that's who we want to be. We always strive for that. So, yeah, absolutely.
I've never read the book or seen the movie. I'll probably read the book. I like books better than movies. They tend to tell the truth a lot more. But coming from Southern Ohio, Northern Kentucky, West Virginia, where my family comes from, he's a self-made man when he escaped that area because he escaped
Right.
fentanyl, he escaped meth, he escaped the factory closed, and I lost everything.
Right.
When the last time I saw my family in that area, I mean, I literally had just come back from a tour in Iraq, and all they wanted to talk about was the fire department fish fry and how it was sad that I missed it. It's like I just came back from Iraq, and oh, that's
Right.
interesting. They had no concept of what was going on in the world outside, and it was, the Purina factory is going to close and everybody's going to lose their job. So and so died of an overdose. So and so's got cancer. I look at it from perspective of growing up in a little town in southern Ohio, first 10 years of my life, where everybody that I knew that's still there is either trying to figure out their next job, wondering what a 401k is, knows somebody that's died of an overdose, knows somebody that's dying of cancer. It's a very depressing area. I don't know that even the book could do justice to what living in those rural areas where factories closed down because of NAFTA, industry closed down, all the young people moved away. That's why I say he served his country, got out, used the GI Bill to go to college. If it would have stopped there, I would still say he's a self-made man.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I get that, but he's going to be the vice president. I mean, that's like a rocket ship of trajectory for this guy. I don't have a problem with him. I just pointing out the fact that he really hasn't done anything. He's been in the Senate less than 2 years. He's done nothing in the Senate, which it's been a tough time. You know what I mean? It's hard to get anything
Where'd
done,
Obama
really.
come from?
Yeah. Well, okay.
He was a community organizer.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So
Never served his country. Sorry.
I want to give my wrap-up analysis on him, which is I characterize him. I think that he is like the Republican version of a Joe Biden, right? Like he's like a senator. He gets up quick. Now he's just like this perma politician. You guys say that, he'll follow Trump, he'll lead the party. Like, I don't think he's going to be that successful. I don't think he's going to be like this great, like the next great leader or something like that. I think he's going to hang around Republican politics. He's going to run for president like a bunch of times. He's probably going to lose a bunch of times. Eventually, he'll probably get in one way or another. Or, he goes in and then maybe Trump dies or something. He takes over right away. But I don't see him winning in 28. Personally, I think a lot of Democrats could stomp him into the ground, and I think a lot of Republicans could beat him too. So that's kind of what I see about it. He hasn't really done anything that wrong. He's going to get killed on this abortion shit, though. I mean, he's just going to get killed on it.
Before 2028, if there's a Supreme Court opening, them appointing J.D. Vance to that and DeSantis running in 28. That would be the strategy move I did as the party.
Right. That would be nice.
Because he's young. He could be on the Supreme Court for 20, 30 more years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could put anybody on there, And he hasn't been a judge
Obviously.
before. He's basically Peter Thiel's sugar brother. Why is he on the Supreme Court? Right?
Because he can sit there for 20 or 30 years. And
There's a lot of people that can sit there a long time. You don't need J.D. Vance to do it. And he wants to be obviously like a politician, not some like judge guy, right? All right, so the moment we've all been waiting for, last topic, Joe Biden withdrew from his race. Or withdrew from nomination or whatever while we were shooting earlier. We decided to hold it. We talked about it at the end here because we were just going to talk about him anyways at the end. So now it's time. Joe Biden has withdrawn from the race. There's not much else that needs to be said about it. We had a lot of pressure, Nancy, Obama, all this stuff that we were going to talk about, but that shit's over with. Like I said a little bit earlier, let's not kill him anymore because he did get out. He did the right thing, in my opinion. But if you want to kill him, go ahead, whatever. It's real veteran news. But who wants to go first?
do you think he made this decision?
I don't know.
I don't feel like he has agency to make any of the decisions he's made in the past 6 months, personally. There was a pretty funny Twitter live podcast thing going where it was just a head of lettuce on a counter, and it's like, who will outlast, Joe Biden or the head of lettuce? So I guess the lettuce won. It was still good yesterday, but
Okay.
Peter Dorsey, he's like, but can you tell us with certainty he has been to a doctor and that he doesn't have dementia and, that he's good. He's had his physical. That's all she would say. She would not say that he's actually been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia or anything that is obviously to everyone, it's obvious, affecting his ability to his cognitive ability. But she kept pushing it off and kept pushing it off and kept pushing it off. And why are they hiding it? What is it? So that he can continue to be making the decisions he's not really making, and he shouldn't be, because we can't legally contract if we are not of sound mind and body. How can he be the president if he is not of sound mind and body? If your aunt is dying and has dementia, she cannot change her will because it will remain as it last was, unless she gave something in her will that said that it could be changed. But if she's got dementia, you're done. You're done. That's it. You can't make any more decisions. I mean, how long has this been going on for? Well, that we know of, at least 2 years. At least 2 years. It's been obvious. So who's going to take his place? Have we gotten to that one yet?
I'm surprised that he did, to be honest, based on some of the things I read. With his understanding that this is his legacy, his 45 years of whatever. The last thing that everybody's going to remember is he quit during what's a pretty big deal right now, the election, and they're down. Like I said, I think we're about episode 5 of the Netflix miniseries, the drama that's going on now. Tomorrow morning, I'm sure Kim Cheadle's wiping her forehead right now, saying "woo," because tomorrow morning the attack is going to be, how can he remain in the White House if he's not competent enough to be the president, if he's not cognitive enough to be the president, which is a flank open. Whether it's really matters. Well, when he's being attacked for it, that's causing doubt.
Well, he's going to say, I'm fine to be president. I just can't do the next 4 years. I can't do this campaign. I'm fine to be president now.
I got that. I'm just saying he just opened his flank to a lot of questions about, well, if he's no longer cognitive enough to even run, as basically the guy that was elected by his party to run, then he needs to step out of the White House and put Kamala in there.
Well, he's the biggest lame duck in history. So the problem is if he leaves now, he puts Kamala in, then she's anointed, and the other Democrats don't want anointed, and she probably cannot beat Trump. They want to put someone in that can beat Trump.
As bad as polls are, I think no matter what, even if it's 24 hours before the inauguration, he'll step down and make her the first female woman of color president, even if it's just ceremonially for a day. I can almost guarantee that happens.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I didn't think about that one.
Oh, we're a racist country. How is this possible? How?
It's going back to, again, in 2020 when they set this team up, thinking about just that victory. I don't believe they were really thinking through what was going to happen now, because if somehow they don't push her in as their candidate, they lose a lot more votes. They lose the woman vote in a lot of cases. They lose the minority vote, especially if they pull the governor of Michigan, or, as I've been reading the last couple of days, they somehow pull Hillary into this. It's like, how could you do this to a woman of color who's faithfully served for the last 3.5 years? She should get
faithfully.
No, I'm not looking at it like that. I'm looking at it. There's already been a lot of congressional women say, if you don't nominate her, if he steps down and you don't rise her up, we won't support you. They're openly saying that to the news.
Good.
Which, again, it's just, let me get my popcorn because this is great. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, the only one who can supersede her is Michelle Obama. We talked about that. All right, so my take on it is that I'm not going to go through all the stuff that happened. I will mention another critical thing here was that right before the Trump shooting, about an hour before the Trump shooting, the Biden campaign with Biden had a phone call with donors that they said what was worse than the debate, rambling, disastrous, dismissive, crazy campaign and everything like that. But with that, they were not able to fix this, right? So it was inevitable. We all saw that. I think the key point of it here is that Biden, this really shows that Biden has been this very out of touch president. I think he's not really in touch with the country, whether it's his age or he's been in power too long, or, he's just got a little bit too much money in his pocket or what, but he's not in touch with regular people. He's not in touch with the street and like the vibe in America. That's like from Kabul to, this other stuff, the inflation, all his like insensitive stuff. He's just an out of touch president. I hope he's remembered that way because he hasn't been a very good president. I hate it when they go on TV and they're like, oh, historic, this and that. Like he didn't do anything except for infrastructure and cock up Kabul. And that's basically all he's done. I guess he finished up the pandemic, but Trump basically did most of the pandemic stuff. I would say also that this was done, supposedly by Pelosi and Obama working together. And I agree with them. And they did a good job. Like they got it done. It was the right thing to do. I'm happy that they did that. I rarely agree with those people. So good on them. And like I've said before, I think Michelle Obama is the only person who can go over Kamala Harris. I think the polls show Kamala Harris can't beat Trump, and that's going to be the argument. But yeah, you're right. You guys are right. Like if they pass her up for some slick white boy or whatever, it's going to be a big problem to get out the African American vote.
They're going to add Michelle to the ticket.
They need to get the Obama name on the ticket. The only Obama who is over 35, eligible for service, is Michelle Obama. Like, she's the only person that can stop Donald Trump.
What about Obama's brother from Kenya?
I don't know what kind of constituency he's garnering, but it doesn't hurt to have that name.
I don't think we covered this one aspect of the assassination. Do you know Austin Private Wealth in Texas? They shorted $12 million worth of Truth Social the day before the assassination attempt. And that's a larger volume than all shorting that's ever occurred on that stock in the history of the stock existing.
The highest putting ever. Mm-hmm.
You'd have to ask those guys what their strategy was.
I think we'll hear more in the future about that. That's pretty. That's a good bet that they made that didn't turn out well, but it's like they knew something ahead of time.
Yeah, they probably are definitely getting investigated by the SEC. So probably for good reason. Does anyone have anything
else? It should be
else?
DHS.
Anything else on Biden?
I had a question, and I tried to read on it this week, and I couldn't find a definitive answer. But as we transition from Biden to Kamala, the war chest goes to Kamala, correct?
Yes.
If they go to the DNC convention and with superdelegates or another aspect, they don't pick her at the top, does that person still get to keep the war chest then, or does that chest get given back to donors or go into the DNC as a super PAC, or how does that money flow around? Because I think that'll tell you what's going to happen is what they can do with the money.
I personally believe that they can either give the money back to the donors, give it to a charity, or give it to some other political campaign. So I was thinking that they would essentially just roll it into the next campaign. If it's Kamala, then the campaign stays in place. She gets promoted, and a new person comes up under her. If it's a whole new campaign, just roll it over there. But either way, like, they're going to be able to raise a ton of money because people want to beat Trump. Pocketbooks are going to open up again.
Yeah, I agree with that. What I read on it was the money was donated to Biden-Harris. One of those names had to be on the ticket, or the money had to go back. They couldn't use it. Essentially, they could not push Biden out. He had to drop out himself, which again, I'm actually kind of surprised he did. I thought it would have went on a little bit longer before he dropped out.
Do you think Biden will give a pardon to Hunter before he gets out?
Definitely.
Even though he said he wouldn't, but I'm sure he forgot he said that.
Mid-November before.
But can he? If he is not of sound mind, can he?
No, definitely.
Can he?
Definitely.
That's why they don't want
to. Hunter Biden pardon. They're working on it right now. The ink's drying on it.
Sadly.
I bet there's a long list above and below Hunter as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I bet you won't see Babaluski's name on there either. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think we're at the end of the show here, guys. If everyone can take their chance to say goodbye.
I wish everybody well.
Thanks for coming, Ted. Matt.
Nice to be here. Pray for the Republic.
We're all praying away. Marie?
Thanks for having me. It's nice to meet you, gentlemen. And yeah, if you don't have Jesus, you got to get right.
Thank you. Thank you, Marie. Holy Sundays here, Real Veteran News.
Peace be with you all.
Yes, exactly.
And also with you.
I think it was a really good show, guys. Thank you all for coming. You did great. Next week, I got Mason and Waldrop booked, and I've got one slot I've asked a few people about, so we'll see who that fourth person is next week. But a lot of news this week, and we'll keep watching it and keep working on the show. So thanks, everybody, for watching, and see you next week. Goodbye.